The rain was falling the night Daniel Carter signed the papers that would change his life forever, not because he wanted love, not because he believed in fairy tales, but because his 6-year-old daughter Lily was sleeping in a hospital bed with wires on her tiny chest and fear in her eyes. The doctor's words still echoed in his head, the bills were stacked higher than his hope, and the world had made it painfully clear that being a single dad with nothing but honesty and exhaustion was not enough. This was the moment Daniel realized that sometimes survival forces good people to make impossible choices, and sometimes love begins in the most broken ways. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us what being human truly means, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Daniel had not always been desperate. He used to be an ordinary man with ordinary dreams, working long shifts as a warehouse supervisor, coming home to cook simple dinners and read bedtime stories. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving Daniel alone to raise Lily, who had inherited her mother's fragile heart. Every hospital visit drained his savings, every night shift stole his sleep, and every smile from Lily made the struggle worth it. But the system was cold, and compassion did not cover medical costs. When he was approached with an offer that sounded more like a contract than a relationship, Daniel felt his pride collapse under the weight of reality. The offer came from Eleanor Wright, a powerful CEO known in business circles for her ruthless discipline and icy control. She needed a husband for 3 years to satisfy family pressure and secure her position on the board of her legacy company. No love, no interference, no emotions, just rules. In return, Lily's medical care would be fully covered, and Daniel would receive financial stability he could never achieve on his own. The rules were clear, cold, and precise, and Eleanor broke the very first one the moment she looked at Lily and softened without realizing it. Life inside Eleanor's glass-walled mansion felt unreal to Daniel. Everything was silent, polished, and intimidating. He felt like a visitor in a museum of power, always careful not to touch anything. Eleanor lived by schedules and numbers, while Daniel lived by hospital appointments and bedtime routines. They barely spoke at first, existing under the same roof like strangers bound by a signature. But Lily changed everything. She filled the house with laughter, questions, and warmth that no amount of wealth could manufacture. Slowly, against every rule Eleanor had written for herself, she began to notice how Daniel never complained, how he always put his daughter first, and how his quiet strength was different from the ambition-driven men she had known. Daniel, on the other hand, struggled with guilt every day. He felt like he had sold a piece of his soul to protect his child. He watched Eleanor from a distance, seeing the loneliness behind her authority, the pressure she carried, and the childhood she never truly had. He reminded himself that this was temporary, that emotions were dangerous, and that crossing lines would only complicate an already fragile arrangement. But life has a way of breaking walls that people spend years building. The turning point came when Lily collapsed at school during a routine day. Daniel rushed to the hospital in panic, fear choking him as memories of loss resurfaced. Eleanor arrived shortly after, abandoning an international board meeting without hesitation. She stayed by Lily's side all night, holding her hand, whispering encouragement, and for the first time allowing herself to feel vulnerable. In that hospital room, the contract stopped mattering. Eleanor saw what unconditional love looked like, and Daniel realized that Eleanor was no longer just a solution to a problem, but someone who genuinely cared. As Lily slowly recovered, the distance between Daniel and Eleanor disappeared. They began sharing quiet dinners, late-night conversations, and unspoken understanding. Eleanor started breaking her own rules, choosing family over power, warmth over control. Daniel began to hope, even though hope terrified him. But happiness never comes without a test. When the truth of their contract leaked to the media, public outrage exploded. Daniel was painted as a gold digger, Eleanor as a manipulator, and Lily became an innocent headline. The board demanded Eleanor end the marriage immediately to save the company. Faced with losing everything, Eleanor made the hardest decision of her life. She stepped down as CEO, choosing truth over image, and family over power. Daniel prepared to leave, believing he was the problem, believing he had taken too much already. But Eleanor stopped him, not with words, but with actions. She filed new papers, this time without contracts, without conditions, and without time limits. It was no longer about saving face or fulfilling obligations. It was about choosing love, even when it cost everything. Years later, the mansion no longer felt cold. It felt lived in. Lily's laughter echoed through the halls, her health stronger, her heart fuller. Daniel found purpose beyond survival, and Eleanor found meaning beyond success. Their story was never perfect, never planned, but it was real. It proved that families are not always built from romance, but from sacrifice, courage, and the willingness to stay when walking away is easier. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps these stories reach the people who need them most. Before the video ends, we would love you to comment one word that describes how this story made you feel, because sometimes a single word carries more truth than 1,000 explanations. In the end, Daniel never entered a 3-year marriage for love, but love found him anyway, rewriting every rule, healing every wound, and proving that even the most broken beginnings can lead to something beautiful.